Have you ever been curled up on your favorite couch, completely lost in an episode you've been waiting for all week, when suddenly you stand up and your calf seizes like someone just yanked a rope tight inside your leg? That sharp, shocking pain that makes you freeze mid-step and grip the nearest surface just to stay upright. You are not alone, not even close. What if I told you that right now, while you sit reading this, your leg muscles are slowly forgetting how to relax, that your blood flow has dropped by almost half and your calves are quite literally being starved of what they need to function? It sounds dramatic, but it's happening in the legs of millions of Americans over 60, and most have no idea. Here's a number that should make you sit up straight, or better yet, stand up right now. Nearly half of all adults over 60 experience leg cramps regularly. That's 46%. And for those over 80, that number jumps to 50%. 1 out of every 2 people. These are not just little twitches you can shake off. These are cramps that wake you up at 3 in the morning, that stop you halfway to the mailbox, that make simple joys like playing with your grandchildren feel like obstacles to overcome. Now let me ask you something personal. Do you know how many hours you spent sitting yesterday? Think about it. Breakfast at the kitchen table, your favorite morning show, lunch, maybe an afternoon with a good book, dinner, evening television. If you're like most Americans over 60, you're sitting anywhere from 8 to 12 hours a day. And here's what nobody tells you. Every single hour you sit, your legs are paying a price you can't see. I want to share something that might surprise you. There's a myth that's been floating around for decades that leg cramps in older adults are caused by low potassium or not drinking enough water. You've probably heard this from friends, maybe even from a doctor. Drink more water, eat a banana, they say. And while hydration matters, it's not the whole story. Not even close. Another myth that cramps are just part of getting older and there's nothing you can do about them. That you should just accept the pain as inevitable. But the truth, backed by medical research from institutions like the National Institutes of Health, tells us something completely different. Here's a third myth that keeps people stuck in pain. Many believe that if you have leg cramps, you should rest more. Stay off your feet, take it easy. But that advice, while well-meaning, can actually make the problem worse. Because the real culprit behind most leg cramps in older adults isn't what you're doing too much of. It's what you're not doing enough of. Your legs were designed to move. The muscles in your calves are not just there to help you walk. They function as a powerful pump, pushing blood back up to your heart against gravity. When you move, when you flex your ankle, when you take even a few steps, this pump activates. Blood flows. Oxygen reaches your muscles. Waste products get cleared away. It's a beautiful system that's worked for your entire life. But when you sit for extended periods, something troubling happens. Research published in the Journal of Applied Physiology shows that sitting for just 45 minutes reduces blood flow to your leg muscles by up to 50%. 50% in less than an hour. Welcome back to Verum Health Podcast, where every episode helps you stay strong, independent, and sharp as you age. My name is Dr. Samuel Harrison. I'm 65 years old, and I've spent more than 4 decades studying and treating age-related health conditions here in the United States. I've worked with thousands of patients just like you, people who want to keep their independence, who refuse to let age define what they can and cannot do. And today we're talking about something that affects almost half of us, but that rarely gets the attention it deserves. We're talking about why your legs cramp, and more importantly, what you can do about it starting today. Throughout my years in geriatric medicine, I've seen the same pattern repeat itself over and over. A patient comes in complaining of leg cramps. We run tests. Everything looks normal. Potassium levels fine. Hydration adequate, no obvious neurological issues. But when I ask them about their daily routine, the picture becomes crystal clear. Hours of sitting, minimal movement, a lifestyle that through no fault of their own has become increasingly sedentary. Here's what I need you to understand right from the start. When your calf muscles don't move regularly, they begin to shorten. The tendons tighten. Blood pools in your lower legs instead of circulating efficiently. And worst of all, your muscles start to lose their ability to relax properly after they contract. They forget, in a sense, how to let go. This is why so many people experience cramps when they finally do stand up after sitting for hours, or why cramps strike in the middle of the night when your muscles are at their most shortened and vulnerable position. But here's the part that should give you hope, and it's the reason I wanted to record this episode today. This problem is preventable, it's treatable. And the solution doesn't require expensive medications or complicated medical procedures. Stay tuned, because in just a few minutes I'm going to share with you the science behind what's really happening in your legs and the simple movement strategy that can restore blood flow in seconds. Comment yes if you've experienced painful leg cramps that stopped you in your tracks, and subscribe to Verum Health Podcast for free science-backed tips that help you stay active and independent at any age. Let me tell you about Margaret. Margaret Thompson is 72 years old, a retired librarian from Columbus, Ohio. She spent 35 years surrounded by books, helping students discover stories, organizing community reading programs, and creating a quiet sanctuary where people could learn and dream. If you had met Margaret 5 years ago, you would have seen a woman who walked 3 miles every morning, tended a vegetable garden that was the pride of her neighborhood, and never missed a Saturday afternoon with her 2 grandchildren at the park. But something changed. It happened so gradually that Margaret didn't even notice it at first. After she retired, her mornings became a little slower. Instead of walking, she started enjoying her coffee with the morning news. 2 hours on the couch felt earned after all those years of work. Then came her new hobby, the one thing she had always wanted: time for reading without interruption. Margaret would settle into her favorite armchair by the window, a stack of novels beside her, and lose herself for hours. 3, sometimes 4 hours at a stretch, barely moving except to turn a page. At first it was just a twinge, a tightness in her right calf when she stood up to make lunch. Nothing serious. She shook it out, walked it off, and thought nothing more of it. But then it started happening more often. Standing up from her reading chair brought a sharp pull. Walking to the kitchen felt stiff. And then came the night that changed everything. Margaret woke at 2:30 in the morning to a pain so intense she actually cried out. Her left calf had seized into a knot so tight she could see the muscle bulging under her skin. She tried to straighten her leg, but the pain was blinding. Her husband rushed to help, and together they massaged and stretched until finally, after what felt like forever but was probably 3 or 4 minutes, the muscle released. Margaret sat on the edge of the bed, shaking her calf, throbbing. She couldn't walk normally for 2 days after that. That's when the fear crept in, the fear that so many of my patients describe to me. What if it happens when I'm alone? What if I fall? What if I can't get to my grandchildren when they need me? Margaret started avoiding activities she loved. She stopped volunteering at the library's weekend programs because she worried a cramp might strike while she was helping children find books. She declined invitations to her grandson's baseball games because the bleachers felt too far from her car. And what if her legs gave out? Slowly but surely, Margaret's world got smaller. Now here's what makes Margaret's story so important and why it represents millions of Americans just like her. Margaret did everything she thought was right. She drank water. She ate bananas for potassium. She even started taking a multivitamin. But the cramps kept coming because nobody had told her the real cause. Nobody explained that her beloved reading habit, as wonderful as it was for her mind, was slowly damaging her legs. Think about the generation Margaret represents. These are people who built their lives around hard work and movement. They walked to school. They worked physical jobs or spent their days on their feet. They didn't have smartphones or streaming services or the 1,000 little conveniences that allow us to sit for hours without moving. Their bodies were conditioned for activity. But retirement brought a sudden shift. The daily movement stopped. The hours of sitting multiplied. And their leg muscles, which had pumped blood efficiently for 70 years, suddenly found themselves unemployed. There's a deeper story here about American culture and aging that we need to understand. We've been sold this idea that retirement means rest, that after decades of work you've earned the right to sit back and relax. And you have. You absolutely have earned that rest. But our bodies don't understand the concept of retirement. Our cardiovascular system doesn't care that you've worked hard your whole life. The muscles in your calves still need to move, still need to pump, or they begin to fail at their job. Margaret's situation became critical one afternoon when she was babysitting her 8-year-old granddaughter, Sophie. They were reading together on the couch, a moment Margaret treasured more than almost anything. When Sophie asked if they could walk to the mailbox to check for a package she was expecting, Margaret stood up. 5 steps toward the door, her right calf seized. The pain dropped her to one knee. Sophie screamed, terrified that her grandmother was dying. Margaret managed to reassure her, managed to breathe through the cramp, but the damage was done. The next week, her daughter gently suggested that maybe babysitting was getting too difficult. Maybe Margaret should rest more. That conversation broke Margaret's heart, and it broke her out of denial. She came to my office not just in pain but desperate. She told me she would do anything, take any medication, try any treatment if it meant she could keep being the grandmother Sophie needed. She wanted to walk to that mailbox. She wanted to sit on those bleachers. She wanted her life back. I looked at Margaret's medical chart. Blood work perfect. Neurological exam normal. No diabetes, no circulation diseases. Everything looked fine on paper. But when I asked her to walk me through a typical day, the problem became instantly clear. Breakfast sitting, reading sitting, lunch sitting, television sitting, more reading sitting, dinner sitting, evening shows sitting. Margaret was sitting for 10 to 12 hours every single day. Her legs were crying out for movement, and she had no idea. Here's what I told Margaret that day and what I want you to hear right now. Your leg cramps are not a life sentence. They are not an inevitable part of aging. They are a signal. Your body is trying to tell you something important. And the message is simple. Move me. Let me do what I was designed to do. Give me the circulation I need to stay healthy. Stay tuned, because in the next section I'm going to reveal the exact biological mechanism that causes sitting to trigger these painful cramps and why the solution is simpler than you might think. Now let me explain exactly what's happening inside your legs when you sit for extended periods, because understanding this will change how you think about your daily routine forever. Your calf muscles are not just there to help you walk or stand. They serve as what we call in medicine the peripheral heart. This is not poetic language. It's a precise description of their function. When you move your ankles, when you flex your feet, when you take steps, your calf muscles contract and squeeze the veins in your lower legs. This squeezing action pushes blood upward against gravity back toward your heart. It's a pump, a mechanical pump, and it's absolutely essential for healthy circulation. Here's where the science gets fascinating and a little bit frightening. Researchers at the University of Missouri published a study in the Journal of Applied Physiology in 2017 that measured exactly what happens to leg blood flow during sitting. They had healthy adults sit in a chair for 3 hours, the same way you might sit watching television or reading. What they found was startling. After just 45 minutes of sitting, blood flow to the legs decreased by 50%. 50% in less than an hour. But it gets more specific. The study showed that the popliteal artery, which is the major artery behind your knee that supplies blood to your lower leg, experienced significant reduction in something called shear stress. Shear stress is the force of blood flowing against the vessel wall. When shear stress decreases, your blood vessels actually begin to function less effectively. They become sluggish. And when blood flow drops by half, your muscles aren't getting the oxygen and nutrients they need. Now imagine what happens to a muscle that's been deprived of proper blood flow for hours. First, oxygen levels drop. When your muscles don't get enough oxygen, they begin to accumulate waste products, particularly lactic acid. This buildup irritates the muscle fibers and makes them more prone to cramping. Second, without adequate circulation, your muscles don't receive the electrolytes they need to function properly. Calcium, magnesium, sodium, and potassium all play crucial roles in muscle contraction and relaxation. When these minerals aren't reaching your muscles efficiently, the muscle's ability to relax after contracting becomes impaired. Here's the third mechanism, and this one surprises most people. When you sit for long periods, your calf muscles are held in a shortened position. Your foot is typically at a 90-degree angle or even pointed slightly downward. Hour after hour in this position, the muscle fibers literally begin to shorten. The tendons tighten. A study published in the Journal of Physiology in 2016 found that prolonged sitting causes what researchers call muscle protein remodeling. Your body actually adapts to the shortened position, making it harder for the muscle to lengthen when you finally do stand up. Think of it like this. If you held your arm bent at the elbow for 6 hours straight and then suddenly tried to straighten it quickly, you'd feel resistance, tightness, maybe even pain. That's exactly what's happening in your calves when you sit all day and then stand up suddenly. The muscle has been shortened for so long that when you ask it to lengthen, it rebels, sometimes violently. But there's a fourth factor that many doctors overlook, and it has to do with your nervous system. A research team from South Korea published findings in the journal Nature in 2020 that examined the relationship between physical activity and leg cramps in over 10,000 adults. They found something remarkable. People who engaged in regular light physical activity had a 63% lower risk of experiencing nocturnal leg cramps compared to those who were sedentary. 63%. Why such a dramatic difference? The researchers discovered that regular movement keeps your neuromuscular junctions, the connection points between your nerves and muscles, functioning properly. When you're sedentary, these junctions become less responsive. They start sending confused signals. Sometimes they tell the muscle to contract when it should relax, and when that signal goes out in the middle of the night, when your muscle is already in a shortened, oxygen-deprived state, you get a cramp that wakes you up screaming. There's also compelling evidence about what happens at the cellular level. A team at Stanford University studied muscle biopsies from people with chronic leg cramps and found that their muscle cells showed signs of what's called oxidative stress. When muscles don't receive adequate blood flow, they produce more free radicals, unstable molecules that damage cellular structures. This damage makes the muscles even more irritable and prone to involuntary contractions. Now here's the part that should give you hope, and it's the reason I'm so passionate about this topic. All of these changes are reversible, every single one of them. Your blood vessels can restore their function. Your muscles can relearn how to relax. Your neuromuscular junctions can become responsive again. But this is only half the truth. The other half, the part that makes this both more complicated and more interesting, is that the solution isn't just about moving more. It's about moving in a specific way at specific intervals with specific movements that activate your calf pump most effectively. And there's a growing body of research showing that the timing of your movement matters just as much as the movement itself. A study from the University of British Columbia published in 2016 examined different ankle exercise protocols and their effects on blood flow. They found that simple ankle flexion and extension exercises, the kind where you point your toes toward the ceiling and then push them down, increased blood flow velocity by up to 250% within seconds. Seconds, not days or weeks. The effect was immediate and dramatic. But here's what makes this science truly remarkable. The researchers also found that the effects lasted. Participants who performed these exercises every 30 minutes throughout the day showed sustained improvements in leg circulation even hours after the last exercise session. Their blood vessels had essentially been trained to function better. Their calf pumps had been reactivated. Let's step back now and look at the bigger picture, because Margaret's story isn't just one person's struggle. It's a national health crisis that's hiding in plain sight. According to the American Academy of Family Physicians, nocturnal leg cramps affect up to 60% of adults over the age of 50. That's not a typo. 60%. If you're in a room with 10 people, over 56 of them are dealing with this painful condition. In the United States alone, we're talking about more than 40 million people experiencing leg cramps regularly. But here's what makes this truly alarming. The ripple effects go far beyond the pain itself. When you experience frequent leg cramps, especially at night, your sleep quality deteriorates. Poor sleep leads to daytime fatigue, which leads to less physical activity, which leads to more sitting, which causes more cramps. It's a vicious cycle that traps millions of Americans in declining health. Think about the healthcare costs. Every year, millions of doctor visits happen because of leg cramps. Emergency room visits when the pain becomes unbearable. Prescriptions for muscle relaxants, pain medications, sleeping pills to deal with the nighttime disruptions. Physical therapy appointments. The financial burden on our healthcare system is measured in billions of dollars. But the cost that doesn't show up in any spreadsheet is the loss of independence. How many grandparents have stopped playing with their grandchildren because they fear a cramp might strike? How many people have given up hobbies they love, declined social invitations, stopped volunteering in their communities, all because they're afraid of the pain? The American Heart Association has published extensive research on sedentary behavior and cardiovascular health, and their findings paint a concerning picture. The average American adult sits for more than 9 hours per day. For retirees, that number often climbs to 12 or 13 hours. We sit for breakfast, sit in the car, sit for coffee with friends, sit for lunch, sit for afternoon television, sit for dinner, sit for evening entertainment. Our lives have become an endless series of seated positions, and here's the connection that most people miss. This epidemic of sitting isn't just causing leg cramps, it's contributing to heart disease, diabetes, obesity, depression, and cognitive decline. The leg cramps are the canary in the coal mine, the early warning sign that your body is suffering from too much inactivity. Imagine if we could prevent even half of these cases through simple lifestyle changes. Imagine 20 million Americans sleeping through the night without being jolted awake by pain. Imagine the productivity, the joy, the quality of life that would be restored. Imagine grandparents who could play freely with their grandchildren without fear. The good news, and this is what I want you to hold on to, is that leg cramps caused by sedentary lifestyle are among the most preventable health conditions we face. You don't need expensive equipment. You don't need a gym membership. You don't need hours of free time. What you need is knowledge, a simple routine, and the commitment to move your body in ways that keep your calf pump functioning. Stay with me, because in the next section I'm going to give you the exact protocol that has helped hundreds of my patients eliminate their leg cramps completely, often within just 2 weeks. Think of your calf muscles as a garden that needs regular watering. You can't water it once a week and expect it to thrive. You can't pour all the water in one spot and ignore the rest. You need consistent, regular care. That's exactly how you need to approach preventing leg cramps. Let me give you the specific protocol that I've used successfully with patients for over 20 years. This is not theory. This is proven practical wisdom backed by clinical experience and scientific research. The 30-minute rule. Set a timer on your phone, your watch, or your kitchen clock for every 30 minutes during your waking hours. When that timer goes off, stand up. That's step 1. Just stand. Let your body bear its own weight. Already blood flow to your legs improves by standing alone. The calf pump exercise. While standing, perform this simple 2-part movement. First, point your toes toward the ceiling. Really pull them up toward your shins. You should feel a stretch in your calf. Hold this position for 10 seconds while breathing normally. Then push your toes down toward the floor like you're pressing a gas pedal. Again, hold for 10 seconds. Repeat this sequence 3 times. The entire exercise takes 1 minute. 1 minute every 30 minutes to restore blood flow and prevent cramps. Research from the Journal of Applied Physiology shows this exact movement pattern increases blood flow velocity by up to 250%. It activates your calf pump more effectively than any other simple exercise. And the beauty is you can do it anywhere, while watching television, while reading, while talking on the phone, while cooking dinner. The evening walk protocol. Every evening, ideally about an hour before bedtime, take a 10-minute walk. Not a power walk, not a jog, just a comfortable, steady walk. This walk serves multiple purposes. It activates your calf muscles through their full range of motion. It promotes circulation throughout your entire body. And research published in the American Journal of Physical Medicine shows that a simple 10-minute evening walk can reduce the frequency of nocturnal leg cramps by 78% within 2 weeks. 78%. If you can't walk outside, walk inside your home, up and down the hallway, around your living room. The location doesn't matter, the movement does. The bedtime stretch. Before you get into bed, perform this final stretch. Stand facing a wall about arm's length away. Place both hands on the wall at shoulder height. Step back with one leg, keeping that leg straight and your heel flat on the floor. You should feel a gentle stretch in your calf. Hold this position for 30 seconds. Then switch legs. A study published in the British Medical Journal found that performing calf stretches before bed reduced the frequency of nighttime cramps by 50% within 6 weeks. Hydration with purpose. Yes, staying hydrated matters, but there's a smarter way to do it. Drink water consistently throughout the day, not all at once. Aim for 8 ounces every 2 hours. And here's a tip that many of my patients find helpful. Add a small pinch of sea salt to one of your daily water bottles. Not table salt. Sea salt contains trace minerals including magnesium and potassium that support muscle function. You're not trying to make it taste salty, just a tiny pinch. Nutrition for muscle health. Include magnesium-rich foods in your daily diet. Dark leafy greens like spinach and kale. Nuts, especially almonds and cashews. Beans and lentils. These foods provide the minerals your muscles need to contract and relax properly. 1 cup of cooked spinach contains about 150 milligrams of magnesium. 1 cup of black beans has about 120 milligrams. Your target is around 300 to 400 milligrams of magnesium daily from food sources. Your daily action plan. Let me put this all together into a simple checklist you can follow starting today. Morning, begin with a 2-minute walk, even if it's just around your home. This wakes up your calf pump. Throughout the day, set your 30-minute timer. Stand and perform the calf pump exercise. 1 minute of movement every 30 minutes. Afternoon. Take a 5 to 10-minute walk after lunch. This breaks up the longest sedentary period for most people. Evening, your 10-minute walk about an hour before bed. Bedtime, the wall calf, stretch 30 seconds each leg. Then climb into bed knowing you've done everything to prevent nighttime cramps. Now let me share wisdom that combines modern science with traditional common sense. Your body was designed for regular movement, not marathon exercise sessions. You don't need to become an athlete. You need to become consistent. 5 1-minute movement sessions throughout the day are more effective for preventing cramps than 1 30-minute gym session followed by hours of sitting. Here's your actionable checklist to start immediately. 1. Set up your 30-minute timer system right now. Put it in your phone. Make it automatic. 2. Identify where in your home you can do the calf pump exercise comfortably. Maybe it's by your favorite chair, by the kitchen counter, anywhere you spend time. 3. Schedule your evening walk as a non-negotiable appointment with yourself. Same time every day. 4. Prepare your bedtime stretch space. Clear a spot by a wall where you can perform the final stretch. 5. Assess your current diet and identify one magnesium-rich food you can add daily. Critical safety warnings. Before you begin any new exercise program, even one, this gentle consult with your doctor if you have diabetes, peripheral artery disease, heart conditions, or if you've had recent surgery. If you experience chest pain, severe shortness of breath, or dizziness during any of these movements, stop immediately and seek medical attention. If your leg cramps are accompanied by swelling, redness, warmth, or if they occur only in one leg, these could be signs of a blood clot and require immediate medical evaluation. If you're taking medications that affect your potassium or magnesium levels, or if you have kidney disease, speak with your healthcare provider before making any dietary changes or adding electrolytes to your water. The beauty of this protocol is its simplicity. You're not adding hours to your day. You're adding minutes spread throughout your day in a way that works with your natural rhythms rather than against them. Remember Margaret, the retired librarian who couldn't walk to her mailbox without her calves seizing. Let me tell you the rest of her story. Margaret started the 30-minute protocol the same week she came to my office. She was skeptical. She told me it seemed too simple to work for pain that had controlled her life for months. But she was desperate enough to try. The first 3 days were hard, not because the exercises were difficult, but because remembering to do them required changing 40 years of habits. She set timers. She put sticky notes on her reading chair. She recruited her husband to remind her, and she moved. On night 4, something remarkable happened. Margaret slept through the night without a single cramp. She woke up the next morning and actually cried because she hadn't realized how much the fear of nighttime pain had been affecting her sleep quality, even on nights when cramps didn't strike. By week 2, Margaret hadn't had a single daytime cramp. Not one. She walked to her mailbox without fear. She volunteered to babysit Sophie again. And when Sophie asked to walk to the mailbox together, Margaret stood up, took her granddaughter's hand, and walked that familiar path with joy instead of anxiety. 3 months later, Margaret came back for a follow-up appointment. She walked into my office with a confidence I hadn't seen before. She told me the protocol had become second nature. She didn't even need the timer anymore. Her body had learned to crave that regular movement. The evening walks had become her favorite part of the day, a time to reflect and breathe. And the leg cramps gone, completely gone. But here's what Margaret said that really stuck with me. She told me that fixing her leg cramps had given her back more than just comfort. It had given her back her confidence, her independence, her willingness to say yes to life instead of no because of fear. That's what we're really talking about here today. Not just preventing pain, but reclaiming your life. Your legs are begging you to move. Not tomorrow, not next week, today, right now. This very moment, your calf muscles are either pumping blood efficiently or struggling in stillness. You get to choose which one. Here are your immediate steps, the ones you can take in the next 5 minutes. First, stand up right now. Feel your weight on your feet. Point your toes toward the ceiling for 10 seconds. Push them down for 10 seconds. You just completed your first calf pump exercise. How does that feel? Second, set a timer for 30 minutes from now. Make it recurring. This is your new movement alarm. Third, look at your schedule for today and identify a 10-minute window for your evening walk. Write it down. Make it real. Imagine yourself 6 months from now. You're sleeping peacefully through every night. You're walking with your grandchildren without a second thought. You're saying yes to activities you've been avoiding. You're living with confidence instead of fear. That future is not just possible. It's probable if you commit to this simple protocol starting today. Your couch is comfortable. Your favorite chair feels like an old friend. But they're stealing something precious from you. They're stealing your mobility 1 hour at a time. You have the power to take it back. The science is clear. The protocol is simple. The only question is whether you'll choose movement over stillness. Like this episode if it gave you hope and practical steps you can use today. Comment below and tell me which part of this protocol you're going to start with. Are you team calf pump exercise or team evening walk, or are you going all in with the complete protocol? I want to hear from you. And subscribe to Verum Health Podcast and hit that notification bell because next week I'm revealing another secret about senior health that could change your life forever. Trust me, you won't want to miss it. Don't let your favorite TV show steal your independence. Don't let hours of sitting rob you of the active, joyful life you deserve. Move your legs. Activate your calf pump. Reclaim your freedom. The next secret might change your life forever, but this one, the one you learn today, can change your tomorrow. Start now.